Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Maps and Metaphors. This is Pranav, and today we are going on a journey to understand something very cool, something that's like a fountain coming straight from the earth. Can you guess what it is? Well, I'm talking about geyser. Some people also call it geyser, but we will stick to calling it geyser in this episode. So let's get started. Geysers are like a giant water fountain, not in a park, but in the middle of nature. Just like a typical water fountain, a geyser shoots water up into the air. However, instead of a button to start it, Mother Nature decides when the geyser should erupt. Geysers only happen in places where there is volcanic activity. So, for example, you can find them in places like Iceland, the United States, New Zealand, and even Russia. Now, you might be wondering that why do the geysers erupt? Well, the reason is that when the groundwater gets heated by hot rocks deep in the earth, it converts the water into steam. Now, this steam, in the desperation to escape, rushes up to the surface and explodes. Out comes the water and steam, creating a geyser eruption. If this was not clear, then let's understand it further with a simple analogy. Imagine a pressure cooker. I hope you have probably seen or even used it in your kitchen. So, when you cook food in a pressure cooker, heat makes the water inside turn into steam. Now, that steam wants to escape, but the pressure cooker's lid keeps it trapped inside. And as the heat continues, more and more steam builds up and pressure increases because all that steam is confined in a small space, right? So, now do you know that little valve on the top of the pressure cooker? When the pressure gets high enough inside, it pushes the valve open and steam comes out. If you've ever heard it, you know it can be quite loud. That's because of all the pressure built up inside. This is pretty much what happens in a geyser. Deep underground, there's water in the little pockets and channels in the rock. Hot water deep in the earth turns into steam. That steam builds up pressure because it's trapped into those small spaces, you know. And just like the pressure cooker, when the pressure gets high enough or strong enough, the steam finds a way out, pushing up through the ground and exploding into the air as a geyser. So a geyser is like a big natural pressure cooker in the Earth's kitchen. Yeah. And when the steam erupts, it gives us a spectacular water show. How cool is that, right? So now let's understand why the rocks are always hot near the geyser. Well, geysers are the result of geothermal activity, which means they are directly linked to the heat generated from within the earth. And this geothermal heat comes from the decay of naturally radioactive elements such as uranium, thorium, or potassium, which are found within the earth's crust. In certain regions, on the other hand, for example in Iceland, the Earth's tectonic plates are moving apart, creating a rift. And this rift allows magma from the Earth's mantle to come closer to the surface, which heats the rocks and water in that area. Now, the rocks near geyser areas in Iceland are hot because they are being heated up by this magma, you know. And water from rain or snow goes down into the ground and comes into contact with these hot rocks. This water gets heated and rises back towards the surface, creating hot springs, mud pots, and geysers. So we can say that geysers are unique because they are only found in the areas having narrow pockets which can trap the steam for a while. And that's how you see that magical eruption, you know. Now, going further, do you think that the location of geysers in Iceland or anywhere are permanent? Well, the geysers' location in Iceland, as in other parts of the world, are relatively stable, but they are not permanently fixed. This is because the geologic conditions that create geysers can change over time. So, firstly, let's understand that geysers form in regions with geothermal activity where there is water source, a heat source, and a particular subsurface geology that allows pressure to build up and be released. It's very important to understand that Iceland is situated on the mid Atlantic ridge, which means there's that's the place where the Eurasian and North American tectonic plates are moving apart. This creates a lot of volcanic activity, making Iceland one of the most volcanically active places on Earth. The magma from these volcanic activities provides the heat needed to create geysers. And the tectonic plates are always moving, you know. Although they are moving very slow, uh, they can be compared to the speed as your fingernails grow. I hope that comparison was interesting. So they are comparatively very slow in their movement, but over geological timescales, this movement can change the location of the geysers. Changes in the subsurface geology can occur due to earthquakes, volcanic activity, or other geological processes affecting the movement of water and heat, and thus influencing where geysers form or stop to exist. Another thing that is important to know is that human activity can also impact geysers. So, for instance, changes to the local water table, perhaps from drilling or groundwater extraction, could also potentially cause a geyser to stop its activity. Yes, it's very important to know. So, we can say that while you can expect famous geysers like Iceland's Geysir or Strokkur to be active at their current locations for the foreseeable future, it is possible that over long time scales or due to significant changes in geologic or human conditions, the locations of geysers could change. Yeah, I hope not for a good reason, but yeah, it could change. So, now how long do you think that the geysers in Iceland have been active? Well, Iceland's two famous geysers I already mentioned, I would say it again. So there are two main geysers or famous ones in Iceland. One is Geysir, which is with the spelling Geysir, and Strokkur, which is with the spelling Strokkur. Well, they are the two famous ones, and they are approximately just 50 meters apart in Iceland. The first one with the name Geysir is actually the one from which the English term Geysir originates. It's very interesting information. It has been known since the 13th century and it's likely much older. However, its activity fluctuates and it has been mostly inactive for many years. While Strokkur, on the other hand, is very active and erupts every 5 to 10 minutes. I was lucky enough to spot it like a few days ago, actually, when I was in Iceland. So, Strokkur was first mentioned in 1789 after an earthquake helped to unblock the conduit of the geyser. It went dormant around the turn of the 20th century, but man made intervention in 1963 caused it to become active again, and it has remained active so far. Interesting for me, and I hope for you guys as well. So while it's challenging to put exact timescales on the longevity of these geysers, it's clear they have been a part of Iceland's landscape for many, many centuries, reflecting the intense geothermal activity of this volcanic island. Let's move to another segment in this episode. Well, growing up as a kid in India, I do have a memory of seeing hot water springs during my trips up in the north, and this makes me wonder if there are any geysers in India like the ones in Iceland or many other places. And after some research, I can say that there are no known geothermal geysers in India in the same sense as those that are seen in places like in United States, for example, in Yellowstone National Park or Geysir in Iceland. Well, India does have geothermal fields like Puga Valley in Ladakh, Tatapani in the state of Chhattisgarh, Manikaran in Himachal Pradesh, Tuva in Gujarat, Godavari Basin in Andhra Pradesh, etc. However, these fields don't exhibit the geyser activity that we usually associate with geothermal phenomena. These sites are mostly used for bathing, therapy, and in some cases for cooking. So clearly, like the kind of effect you see in Iceland when you say something like geyser or in US, uh, they are they are not found in that sense in India. They're just hot water springs. So let's further understand the importance of geysers. Well, the natural geysers are much more than just a touristic site. Yeah, they play a vital role in our environment. They contribute to biodiversity, and even some offer potential applications for human use. So, geysers indicate, for example, the presence of geothermal energy, which is heat generated within the Earth's interior. This heat can be harnessed and converted into electricity, offering a sustainable and renewable source of energy. Geothermal power plants near geyser fields use this energy, significantly reducing the reliance on fossil fuels, for example. Geysers are also like natural sensors, and any change in geyser's activity can signal shifts in the Earth's geothermal dynamics, potentially indicating something like seismic or volcanic activity. It's interesting enough, right? Well, on the other hand, geysers contribute to creating unique ecosystems, promoting biodiversity. The hot mineral rich water from geysers creates habitats that are home to unique organisms known as thermophiles. These heat loving microbes thrive in the high temperature conditions around geysers. These thermophiles are not just limited to microscopic life, as you might imagine, or even I was, thinking about it. So, in places like Yellowstone National Park, you can see bright, colorful mats or streams around geyser basins. Well, these colors are actually communities of thermophiles, and their ability to survive and thrive in such extreme conditions helps scientists understand the limits of life on Earth and potentially on other planets. Thermophiles that live in geyser environments are of particular interest to the scientists we have seen. They have adapted to survive in extreme conditions, that would be hostile to most of life forms. And studying these organisms helps us understand evolution and adaptation. An example of this enzyme, Taq polymerase, for example, which was discovered in a thermophile living in a geyser in Yellowstone National Park. Um, this enzyme is crucial for a technique called PCR. Yes, it is very similar PCR that we had during the COVID-19 test. So it also stands for polymerase chain reaction, and it is used widely in DNA research. And actually, it was pivotal in developing COVID-19 tests. So just in case you did not know. So while geysers hold potential for use and study, it's crucial to maintain their integrity, right? Geysers are sensitive to changes in their environment, and any overuse of geothermal energy, water diversion, or land development, around it can disrupt geysers' activity. Similarly, the overuse could also lead to other problems. It could cause the land to sink or result in the release of harmful gases that are usually trapped deep underground. So you should be very careful about these things, especially around the whole geothermal energy usage and activity. So, so I would say geysers are quite rare, but they are proof that our planet is full of surprises. And that's all I have for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay curious, stay amazed, and keep exploring. Thanks again, everyone. Cheers. Goodbye. Take care.